I think what SMU also gives the advantage for us to really go all out and learn the real world rather than just looking at papers and projects. When I joined SMU, nothing exists, right? So the students were new, the professors were new. So it made us entrepreneurs because we had to start absolutely almost everything. So I started an organization called ISAC, and I think that was very meaningful for me because, then I learned how to work with a blank sheet. I learned how to get resources when it's not available.
I think that entrepreneurial spirit still exists within SMU, but for my personal experience, it was more different in the sense that when I joined SMU, it was already very established. So overall, I would say my journey in SMU has been very transformational, very dynamic. I really do resonate with your point that you can try anything you want.
One of my most memorable experiences was really setting up ISAC. So it's a student-run organization focused on providing students with professional learning experience overseas. Starting ISAC was tough because it was a very steep learning curve. There was an opportunity to bid for a regional conference. It's called the Asia Pacific Leadership Exchange Seminar. And this was bringing 25 nationalities to Singapore for a 3-day conference. It really pushes, the boundaries because suddenly we were a little tiny business, right? In the sense of getting funding for this organization. And that's, I think, what SMU also gives the advantage for us to really go all out and learn the real world rather than just looking at papers and projects. And this is super valuable because it helps prepare for that next role that comes along as well. Yeah.
For myself, I went on a summer exchange program in the UK. I would say the experience was really very meaningful because when I was there, actually I was the only Asian in class. And it was also a time for me to really try things that I never really had a chance to in Singapore. So a core memory really for me is having that bravery or courage to really approach people that you might be afraid of approaching at first, but then having the confidence to do so and also continuing the conversation later. In SMU, we have the 80-hour mandatory community service requirement. So that was when I was introduced to Touch, where I mentor children academically and also in terms of building their character. It started out as something that I just had to fulfill for school, but I was actually assigned to a secondary 1 student. So after my 80-hour requirement was fulfilled, she was already approaching the end of secondary 1. I felt a very close connection to her already, and I wanted to take her all the way to her graduation. That was why I decided to stay on, and over time I got to know all of the kids personally and really see them grow and see their personalities develop. It's always very humbling and it's a very fulfilling experience.
My volunteer experience is quite similar in the target audience. Back then, we had a group that looks into how we could support the disadvantaged children, but overseas. We went to northern Thailand in Chiang Rai, where there were lots of drug-addicted kids on the streets. So there's an organization that helps build shelters so that they can get them off the streets and build a community that supports them. And we were there to build the shelter physically, right? But we also raised funds to fund the project. I think it made me learn that life can be very different. The kids there, they don't care about brands. They care about learning. So it was very fulfilling and made me rethink, what do you want out of life? What does success also means? And also feel grateful for what we have, right? That SMU provides and Singapore provides as well. I think SMU is like a testbed for things to be creative. I think the people that you meet within SMU tends to be the people that likes to push the envelope. People who likes to be out of the comfort zone like yourself. But I would really also say that it's a place where it shapes who we want to be.
If you want to go to a place to really challenge yourself, but also be in a very stimulating environment with like-minded people, this is the place to be, and it's really the best place to try out everything and anything you've thought of.